I'd like to call up the second panel, please. Panel number 2. Gemma, Divyanand, Peter and Sagar. Get up. Gemma. Okay. Our second panel is developing deep focus in an age of ever-decreasing concentration spans. We have Gemma Donoghue, a lecturer in contemporary dance, Universities of Roehampton and Chichester, an artist, an educator and choreographer. Would you like to say hello?
Yeah, well, actually, if I may, I would like to do something a bit unorthodox. I consider myself merely an educator and lecturer, but I wonder if before we start this talk about deep focus, if I might engage everyone in a small physical task.
Yeah,
Go for it.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah? I wonder if we might all stand and turn towards the white walls. Turn towards the white walls so that all you're seeing is the white walls. Oh, and I wonder if we might take a moment to just look at what white space does to our focus, what white supposedly open space does to our focus, and yet, what's it like to be on monoped? What's it like to try and stand on one limb, whatever that is for you, and to maintain balance against white space? How much energy does it take to focus on nothing real but just white? And then perhaps how much easier does it get if we turn and acknowledge each other? How much easier is it to stand on one leg whilst seeing real stuff?
This is good.
White shines open makes us fall over. Real stuff makes us stand tall. That was saying my introduction. Fabulous.
Okay, where was I?
Nothing more to be said.
Gemma Donoghue. Can we edit that in the podcast where we put you on? We'll put some background music on as well. Picture white space. We have Peter Brown, international change consultant, previously a strategy director of Orange. He's also a poet, an actor and a singer. Welcome to For the Curiously Minded.
Thank you. I have nothing like that to offer. I suppose just to say it, I suppose I'm a little schizophrenic. On the one side, I'm a telecoms executive and strategist and change management and things like that. And 15 years ago, I was one of the people at Orange that talked about the mobile phone as the remote control for life. We could do everything with the mobile phone. These days, I don't know if any of you have seen Simon Sinek's wonderful interview about the trouble with millennials. The mobile phone coupled with social media has become a form of addiction for a lot of young people. They're addicted to the dopamine that comes from activities on social media, the hits that you get from a like and from a text message and from a WhatsApp. And their inability to get away from the phone for long periods means it's decreasingly likely that they can actually focus long enough to have a properly deep creative thought. So on the one hand, I think what we've developed, telecoms is just the networks, we don't do the phones or the apps, but it's wonderful that we can share so much information so quickly and so widely around the world, but it's a little terrifying how many young people are becoming addicted to those forms of information and communication.
Thank you, Peter. We have Divyanand Khed, a South Indian classical musician of the Saraswati Veena, a co-founder of Bradfani in the UK that spreads the musical tradition and teaching methodologies.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Anjan and Nina for this incredible opportunity and speak in front of a very esteemed guest. I hope that makes sense.
Very welcome, very welcome.
I'm of Indo-Scottish background. My father's Scottish, and he went to India in the 70s as a hippie, and my mother's from Chennai, which is the capital of South Indian classical music. In fact, my parents took me out of high school, and I joined a private music institute in Chennai, founded by my guru, Dr. Karekudi Subramanian, who is a 9th generation piano player in his family, and now they're continuing 10th and 11th generations. And he, in fact, was speaking about science and music. He was chemistry. He studied chemistry, English literature, and ethnomusicology. So he created a unique institute where he wanted to, in fact, bridge the traditional way of learning, the Gurukula, which is one-to-one, master and the student, and the institution method, which is the university, And he founded that 25 years ago, and I was very fortunate to learn there. So I learned in the institution atmosphere with a group of people with new teaching methodologies, as well as learning intensely from him. So for 2 years I learned from him. So I will be talking about my experience of focus in the institute environment and the traditional way of learning as well.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, Dominic. We have Sarah Jilka, a neuroscientist, a Scopus Young Researcher, Arts and Humanities Award winner. Welcome.
Thank you. I guess as a way of introduction, I'm a neuroscience background. I've worked in the field of music and psychology. I'm a musician, so I play piano and keyboards at weddings and sort of live gigs, I guess. I guess a general science lover, a general music lover, a general sort of curious person, just question everything really. And again, very happy to be here, so thank you guys very much.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just going to for the panel, the audience have kindly written some words input into this session, which I'll just put out there. Some of them we touched. Watching TV and checking phone, check. Labour. Which kind of labour?
Too big for tonight.
Soul harmony. Focus on past or present problem. Mexican cartel. I think they're looking for Nando's. Maybot. Yes. Maybot. There are algorithms out there. Perturbance. Blood sugar levels and the effect of, and panic. Well, that could be the other one. Or could be both. Okay, I just put those out there. So.
Can I start on presence? So something I noticed, was really moved by, is when you guys were playing together just now, the absolute presence of how you practice with each other. That it is, so just in case, I teach contemporary dance, I teach in 2 institutions, and one of the most difficult challenges we face with young people is giving them the space to allow themselves to feel like they are authorized to be important enough as themselves. They want technique. They want to be told, how do I make the grade? How do I please you as a lecturer? And I always like to consider myself as a facilitator rather than a lecturer, that my job is to just go, okay, be you, be more you. Be a little bit more you. It's okay, it's allowed. And we are really lucky in one of the institutions I teach that we have a lot of connections to South Indian dance and South Indian music. And through that, a lot of our students have really understood these abilities to improvise. And watching you guys together, there is a constant negotiation.
Yes.
And an egoless negotiation.
That is, I would attribute that to the traditional Gurukula way of learning. You're completely focused with the master, And you whatever you listen, the master plays, you just have to pick it up. You're expected to pick it up immediately, or you're given very few chances. And in those days, the Gurukula system was a student living in the master's house. You have to cook, you have to do whatever the master says, and you practice. Master doesn't actually sit and teach you there. He's listening, he's focused, and say, "Oh, no, do that again." And well, then that's gone now. I mean, that doesn't exist. So the next stage was where the student would go every week for a class with the master, and now we have Skype lessons. So that's where, so this presence of mind, they were saying, and dance. Speaking about dance, my only claim to an art background is my great grand aunt Rukmini Devi Arundale married a Britisher. And she revolutionized Indian classical dance in the early 20th century. And that's my only claim to an art background. And we have South Indian classical dance globally because of her, basically.
But isn't that very interesting in terms of there being like this, so I deal in contemporary dance, but obviously we still have a ballet heritage. And we fight against that ballet heritage that's about hierarchy and trophies.
Yes, yes.
And we fight against it in terms of encouraging young people to be really real, in the sense of like not having to have any specific body or any specific way into the craft, that their sheer presence in the craft is the most important thing. And it really interests me that we have both, in a very separate lineage, come from a place that's very trophy-led. And you talk about your gurus, and I think about my ballet mistresses when I was a kid. And yet now we're promoting a way of working in the arts that's almost the antithesis of the way that we were taught.
Yeah.
And when it comes to kind of, just to bring it back to like mental health issues, when it comes to opening up space for young people to really be their individual selves, it's about that stripping away of like, you don't need a trophy to be good. The studio is a laboratory. It's not a performance space. It's not where you're supposed to be great. The studio is the space where you get to be playful.
Let's bring Sagar in here, because he's also a musician and a neuroscientist. So the topic is, what's your view on this deep focus in an age of ever decreasing attention?
Yeah, I think, yes, on that topic and this deep focus, I think on the topic Gemma was saying that you guys were sort of looking at each other, I think that ability to sort of improvise stuff, I think that's innate in all of us, right? Like, I think every part of our body is a metronome. Like our heartbeats and the way we think and circadian rhythms, everything is a metronome, right? And being a musician, kind of you just hone that. It's like sort of you just got to do the training in order to sort of develop that, right? So I mean, I understand the sort of the Gurukul and the teaching and sort of hierarchy, but actually, if you just kind of just do it, you just pick up an instrument, play, YouTube or whatever. It's we all understand like rhythm. We all understand like tone. If I played a bum note somewhere, everyone will.
Actually, that's the reason I put the in the clips. I had the cows and the donkey, exactly. Right? That was
it's so obvious, it's so obvious that something's not right here, and you may not be able to explain. Like my mum might not be able to explain that. Oh, you played that note wrong. It was a flat and fifth or whatnot, but something doesn't sound right. So that's an innate ability. I think.
Don't you have a little demo for us on that?
Well, we spoke about that. I'm not sure how. we did mention. I'm not sure how.
We're ready. We're game.
Okay.
High and low, was it? Are we doing?
Yeah. So we had this idea of mentally sort of picturing a keyboard or like a scale, right? So if on this end is if this end is you so can you hum like a low note?
Is it an Indian note or Western note?
Yeah. Lower.
Lower. Oh my god.
No.
the audience can help you, please.
Yeah.
Go look at the white wall a minute.
So we have a really low note here, and then we have a high note here. So can I ask you to sort of hum a high note? Yeah.
The audience.
No.
Okay. All the audience.
Divinand. High note.
Very good.
I know someone who can do a high note. Susie. Yes. Soprano. Okay. And part of the choir, and some of my choir members are friends.
Hang on to the moment. Come on, keep focus.
Presents!
Okay, so. Okay.
I think we've completely lost the pitch now, so I can't
Do
remember
it
what the
again.
notes
Do it
were.
again.
So let's stick. If you have one note here, like, and this one. Yep. Perfect. Now, so that's our range, right? That's the low end. That's the sort of top end. We don't know what's in between, right? But if I asked you guys to just sing something that's in the middle, what would it sound like? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's worked as well as I'd hoped, but the idea is that.
High note. You got the high note.
What we're talking about is this innate ability to sort of understand range and pitch without sort of having, a knowledge of sort of scales and majors and minors. No, you don't need that, right? You just understand that this is low, something in the middle, right? And you could do it on a mat or anything, right? And that sort of natural ability, sort of in us, it just needs to be developed, and you can sort of build on that in order to sort of, help focus and the rest of the stuff that this plan's going to talk about.
Didn't Miles Davis once say that that the only mistake you make as a musician is announcing it? Because in
I shouldn't have
jazz,
said anything then.
That worked really well.
in jazz there is no mistake.
Yeah.
Everything is another happy opportunity that
When I
just
get
came
wrong,
from
I
the
call
last
it jazz.
note.
So, yeah.
In fact,
Yeah.
to add to your thing, the reason I said Gurukula and institution, the unique atmosphere, was the drawback of Gurukula was only a few could access that. In India, you know about the class system, and only the elite upper caste people who had backgrounds, like I am from an art background, could stick with the guru, and the guru had patience only for people who could pick it up. But the contemporary way of the institutionalized way of teaching and new methodologies, like in a group and exercises without thinking about it. And in fact, when I went through rigorous training for 1.5 years as a singer, and then only my guru taught me the veena. And the kind of method he used for people to bring out their voice, and his belief was everyone has music in them, every single person. And his vision was to make music accessible to all, irrespective of their class, background, religion, or anything. And music therapy was a big thing. So I was very happy to see
that.
the well-being thing.
Yeah.
And we have a siren method, which that's no, you don't think which note or the drone or am I in tune, nothing. So first training we use for children who are so shy to sing is the shout. Slowly get them into the tune. And just to add the drawbacks of Gurukula, and what are the drawbacks also of institute, with the distractions there. But if we bridge them and use the best of both, this would be a good model for music education.
And it's been, like you said, it's been modernized now, so through Skype, etc.
Yes.
But so Peter, what's your view on devices and how they might affect sort of the old way of learning or practice?
Well, I'm going to actually throw this one out to the scientists in the room because I'm not a scientist. I think the research is increasingly that it is affecting levels of dopamine usage, particularly in younger. So the brain is very plastic, and as you grow through the teenage years, you're learning how to be cognitive and how to think and how to focus. The problem with a lot of applications in social media is that children are becoming hooked, and they constantly need to go back to their device or to their iPad or whatever to look at the new messages. And the incidence of depression in teenagers, particularly in teenage girls, I understand, caused by this association with social media. Instagram is a very good example. That's quite worrying. I think a former boss of mine said, never blame the technology, it's all about people. I think the problem is the technology is evolving at such a rate that our ability to evolve with it is not able to keep pace. So particularly teenagers are getting extremely stressed.
What do you see in the future, like in terms of algorithms?
I see greater rates of depression caused by certain social media.
Yeah, we have, I've been teaching in 2 universities for 10 years, and we are up to as many as 30% of incoming students each year presenting with summaries of adjustments.
And on the other side, though, we had this conversation, which was really high percentage. We had this conversation about how machine learning in primary care, secondary care, those school settings, personal use as well of machine learning, where they learn your symptoms, possibly even predict that, you might feel depressed because your levels are going X, Y, and Z, or you've just been to this activity, and maybe you need X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on?
I think, I mean, I'm a bit biased because I love data and I love that world, and I mean, if I could have it, I mean, I would like myself to be like a computer that a chip just tells me, okay, so you're going to be hungry in 30 minutes, and in the direction you're going, there's going to be like a cafe there. I'd love to be sort of in that space, but I get the other arguments, and there's lots of evidence about smartphones and sort of when you look at the screen, melatonin, and you can't sleep and all that stuff. I get all of that. I think maybe we can't. Technology is going to be there; it's going to develop, right? So maybe the sort of human race will evolve, and we'll sort of our physiology will change, maybe. Or as you're saying, we need to sort of embrace it, and there's lots of smart people at universities doing things like machine learning.
Talk us through that, the all is connected, algorithm solving what you need. What could the future shape up towards?
I mean, so what could it shape up? So let's say we have wearable technology, right? So we have a watch or a bracelet or something, and that's monitoring our heart rate or various aspects of our physiology, and that's all being fed into a really smart computer somewhere, in a university or somewhere. And as soon as it sort of sees different levels or odd levels or abnormal levels of X, Y, and Z, it straight away alarms, triggers an alarm to your GP or somebody who cares for you, basically. And maybe healthcare will evolve in the sense that you'll have personalized medicine, precision medicine, where you target straight away. We'll know what's wrong based on your sort of genome and based on your genetics and your genetic makeup, and treatment will be available very quickly. So yes, I get the whole it's really bad, social apps are really bad, and media and iPhones and blah blah blah. And yes, I agree with that, but I think you can't.
I mean, I'm frowning, but not because I don't totally I don't totally unsupport what you're saying, but for me, what that does is really make people very individual. And the thing I notice as an educator in the university environment is that the biggest challenge we have is getting young students to embrace the idea that being themselves is okay, and that they don't have to be so. It's a very loose connection to tonight's debate, but we often talk about the studio is not a performance space when we're teaching dance. It's not where you have to be perfect. The studio is a socialist space where we come together to fail with each other, to fall over, to try things out and get things wrong. And what I've noticed in my 10 years of teaching is that students are so used to only showing the perfect version of themselves. Only showing the social media, exactly what you were saying.
Would you like to know where your next croissant and coffee is before you know it? I would.
So I do a lot of work I do a lot of work in the industry, which is all about machines and machine and the Internet of Things, and there are many, many great things coming out of that. I'm just going to ask a question. In the age of robotics and artificial intelligence, which will replace much of our work in the next 50 years, is there still going to be room for the irrational, which is actually what makes us human?
Yeah.
So what is the role of the irrational alongside the rational, which is probably going to be better performed by robots and by AI?
And boredom as well.
We'll talk about boredom, Andrew.
Yes.
What is the point of boredom?
Yay.
Creativity.
Yeah.
You want to come in there.
Creativity coming from boredom, yes.
Irrationality and all that. I recently read a book called Predictably Irrational, which is so ironic because as humans we are irrational, but it's weird how when you study it and you look at the evidence base, all our irrationalities are so predictable. we know why we're doing things that are irrational or what we're going to do. So is being irrational really irrational, or is it just
So once these machines are learning enough, they'll be able to predict.
Someone just say it's progress.
Yay! Exactly. Yeah, just learning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what I feel is technology can be an aid. My experience is, and with
And it should
experience,
be
yeah, and
an
experience
aid.
in teaching, scaling the music education in India and the rural areas or whoever who just comes and says I want to learn music but don't know anything. So technology has helped a great deal, and we've been using it for ages now. Before many people in India, and it breaks a lot of stigmas there. But at the same time, a physical presence of a teacher also is required. So it cannot replace the traditional way of learning. Mind you, Gurukula was not only in India; it was there in the West. Mozart's pupils and all who came, followed, learned with their master and practiced that focused practice for hours and hours. That's what brought them there. But now, of course, in an age where things are changing fast, technology is a brilliant aid. That's been my experience. I've learned a lot.
But I think it's really key what you're saying, that it's an aid.
Yes.
It's an aid.
It cannot replace. Don't
And it
think of
should
as-
never. It should never.
No,
Like, if we can make a space in creative studios all over the land where actually phones go away and it's about community, it's about us having conversations like we're having tonight, it's about us coming together from various arts practices and going, it's all a meditation and it's all a wellness.
Yeah.
And every time we come together and have these opportunities, it's an action against the struggles of the NHS and what they're dealing with regards to mental health support right now. This is a wellness. Every time we get into a studio, it's a wellness. And if we can take technology and go, it's just there in support. And actually the real thing is the moment of you two looking at each other tonight, for me, when you were playing, and having a real human connection.
Technology is the age of Google and Wikipedia is just an adolescent. It's just a teenager. It must. It's in
And
living
yet, without
memory.
technology, we wouldn't have reached.
It's only
the moon.
15,
We wouldn't
14
have
years
reached-
old, 15 years old. So imagine when he grows up, what's going to be happening.
It's going to be possible.
Well,
But won't we always still need to get into a studio and sweat
Yes.
with
We
each
hope, we hope
other
so.
We agree. We
and
say
work
yes.
hard
Yes.
so.
with
One
each
says
other?
yes.
We'll still
No.
need that,
Yes.
right?
We agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I
That's
do
good.
want to say though, because we will be wrapping up very soon. There's so much to talk about, so we'll talk in the bar. Is that although there's a lot to talk about going to the bar afterwards. So do that.
Yes.
Focus seems to be that.
Focus, yes,
Yeah.
let's focus on that. But there are lots of conversations at the moment around short attention spans. There are lots of think tanks, Peter, we talked about all of this. And it seems to have come from a few studies, and one of the studies was from Microsoft. And they seem to have quoted something called, I think, brainstatistic.com, which did some research in Canada, actually, around how our attention spans have moved from from year 2000, which was about 13 seconds, to now, which is about 8 seconds, and a goldfish now is 9 seconds. Now, just to put that into context, that was done by for Microsoft marketing, and the credibility of the sources. Go on, Roger.
Yes. Yes, please.
Like saying that study has been entirely discredited.
Yes, exactly. The
Sorry,
sources have
I've
been
been going to say
questioned.
my new friend.
No, good.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the point was, thank you for that, Roger. The point was that the sources of that have been called into question. So we shouldn't fear about attention spans being so decimated that we won't be able to meet the big challenges of energy and Mars and water and hunger. But one thing that did come out of it was the question about whether it's attention spans or whether it's multitasking with distractions. That is actually the real issue, and maybe that's what we need to tackle, because we've got so much to do now, so much more information to come in and filter out.
You can only do one thing well
Yeah.
once.
No, but the challenge.
Unless you're Leonardo da Vinci, and then you can do a lot.
No, the challenge for a professional musician is, immediately you go and introduce you to some. Oh, are you on YouTube? Are you on Facebook? So I have to now balance my practice, my focus practice at home. I have to practice every day, otherwise nothing will happen. It'll all be in my head. Music will fine, but actual practice, muscle memory as we call it. For instrument, you're an instrumentalist, you'll know. But we, at the same time, have to also post on social media, have to think about YouTube.
Yeah.
This is a balance.
Yeah.
You have to,
Yeah, mixed opinions of it because
yeah.
if you're into something and if you love doing something, you're naturally going to focus on it. So I don't see the. I mean, there's a part of me that doesn't see the argument here. Like when I go home and I'm playing piano, my world switches off. And you know, I think it's about playing for 5 minutes, but actually look at the time. It's
Exactly,
it's been an hour. So.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of idea of sort of focus, if you're actually into something and you have a passion for it, you love it, there's no argument here. Just carry on going with it. There's
No
it's fine.
excuses.
There's no
Excuse
excuses.
the other reason.
It
But
has
if
been
you're-
shown, yeah.
Sorry,
Anything that you do, your neural network with your hands, whether it's making food or making music or writing or knitting, that has the highest benefit for you mentally and your well-being and creativity, or gardening, whatever it be. So actually just getting your hands in there is always a good thing. I would like to take a few comments.
Can I ask one
Yeah.
thing related to the young people thing? So I think that Instagram and stuff is frightening, but it's frightening because of the stuff they're looking at on it. It's not. It wouldn't be frightening if they were all watching inspirational speakers that can put on this panel.
That's a very good point.
But then, do you think that it's not that they've got access to those things, and we can't stop that? That won't stop. They'll just develop new things. It's not Instagram anymore. It's Snapchat. It's not Snapchat. It's the next thing. Do you think it's because they don't have that thing to be passionate about? It's that they don't find that one thing. They don't find music. They don't find poetry. They don't find whatever they can put that creativity and that focus and that dedication
I'd say I
into.
think they do, but they don't have the boldness and bravery to take a risk on themselves as being someone that can do it in a different way, in their own way.
So is that not
They are
as much
so
about the adults
homogenised.
saying do it and saying, come on, you can be a crap musician and still be a musician.
They'll post. So I teach contemporary dance, and we have like students who will come out of their 3 years, and they will post a video of them doing a 2-minute bit of street dance because that's what they've done for their whole lives, and that's what they trust in, and that's what they know their peers appreciate. And they'll be sharing those videos, but they won't share any of the journey that they've had on that 3-year degree course because they might fail, because they might not be the best at it or the greatest. And it's really easy for me to say as someone who's not from that generation that it seems to me that they're so used to being able to promote themselves as these perfect beings.
But interestingly as well on that,
only share.
the ones that actually get the largest number of hits, the posts that get the largest number of hits are when people admit that there is a problem, and this is what their real feelings are. So there is the point that you made, Peter, about the depression. I mean, that really relates really well to what Jess was saying. So that there's movement in the wrong direction, but also in the recognition of pulling it to the right direction. What Anjan said,
Absolutely.
that it's an adolescent technology still, and who knows where we go from.
Peter.
I'll make a very small comment. I'm director of a social enterprise called Eat Club, and we help young people to learn how to cook and eat together properly. So we're particularly interested in youngsters who maybe for whatever reason don't have access to regular structured family meal times or structured meals for young adults, because there's a growing body of evidence that those people who do have access to regular structured meals actually behave better and perform better in school. And one of the reasons is that what happens in a structured meal environment, hopefully, is that you're not distracted by the virtual world. So you cook the meal and then you sit together around a table, and we insist in Eat Club that there are no mobile phones, and you are actually in the present learning how to talk to somebody over a meal. So I think that's that's about being mindfully in the present and active in the present and learning how to socialize and not be distracted for just that period of time that you're actually eating a meal, not in front of a television, not in front of an iPad, not looking at YouTube, but talking to people.
Can you take a picture of it and put it on Instagram?
Yeah, well, and by the way, we have an Instagram account, we have a YouTube account, of course, we have Twitter, needless to say.
Yes, please remember, it's hashtag curiously minded. We tweet about today. And our Twitter accounts are on your program piece of paper as well. Are there just any more burning comments? Yes, like to briefly.
And a comment.
Yeah.
I don't know enough young people to answer this question. Are young people today able to dance in the way that let's say in my generation, people started to go to parties and started to learn to dance, and they're all doing socially learned dances so that everyone could boogie. Is that still going on?
Do you know what? That's the best question ever. It is the best question ever. I have this thing with students where I watch them. So I'm lucky in one of my universities, we have live musicians, and some of them, technology has made our studio space so much more pleasurable because they have got loops and they're like building up. What by the end of class is like being at a drum and bass gig in the 90s. The music is so powerful. And I see them on the sides, and they're all like, yeah. And then they come to do...
That's what I'm saying. If that is alive, and if that culture is alive...
But then, the interesting thing for me is that they, on the sides, will be going, yeah. And then they come to dance technique, and come down the room, and they go,
Okay.
I think the point being is it's not part of a community. It's not something that we do on a regular basis.
Well, I think that's the key. What you just said is the key. It's community.
Right.
Like I spend all my time as a teacher going, we're a team. We're a team. We're going to be here for 3 years together, whether we like each other or not. Let's get in the studio. Let's learn stuff about each other. Let's dance for fun with each other, so that we can then go, oh, you know what? So and so is good at this, and so is good at this. Who can we lean on in the room?
There's a lot of musicians in the room, so if you want to jam and get down with Divyanand, or Saga myself, or just keep in touch with that.
The simple answer to my friend's question is no. They professional dancers who are on dance degrees don't dance socially at the moment, and that's a sad thing.
But even just generally.
What did you just say? Professional?
That they don't bring their social dancing, their joy and love of dancing into the studio.
They haven't connected.
They don't connect it as being the same thing.
But it's
Okay.
still out there.
Yeah.
It's not that young people are still dancing, aren't they?
Oh, of course.
Okay, hang on a sec. Divyanand.
Dance is internal music, and music is internal dance.
Yeah.
This every one of
On
us
that note.
should remember.
On that note, on that bombshell, has it been a good event? Have you enjoyed it? Okay. Thank you very much. Now, just a few notes to say. We would very much, it's our first event, we would like you to join your name to our mailing list, and that way we can send you some reference materials of what you've heard, or the panelists would like to send some reference notes or links to websites. And also when it does go up online, we'd also like to let you know about that and the next event. Nina and myself would really like to thank the Curiously Minded team, Achala, Takio, Nada, Shaheen, the Hammersmith and Fulham Arts Festival, Elise, Helen, Amy, Charlotte, the Bush Theatre, Priya Palan from Imperial College, White City. So lots of amazing buildings going up. Multi-million. Go for a guided tour to Imperial West. You're on top of the world there. So it's very exciting times. This has been For the Curiously Minded. My name is Anjan Saha. This is Nina Joshi. And please give a big round of applause. So first of all, Jeff Garbo on guitar. And if you can all stand, Jessica Wade. Stand. Yeah. Sade. Remain standing. Okay. So Sade Ryan, Sue Green, Suzanne Dole, Gemma Donahue, Vivian Ann, Peter Brown, Saga Jilka, and all of you. Thank you very much.